This is Ladakh. This cold desert in India contains parts of the Himalayan and Karakoram mountain ranges and the upper Indus River Valley. This road we are traversing leads to Sabu, best known as Ladakh's model village. The village, ravaged by flash floods many a time, the worst in August 2010, stands reconstructed and an affirmation of Ladakh's resilience. It also stands testimony to Ladakh's rapidly changing climate, triggered by changing lifestyles and economy.
Because you can see right close to your house you have a neck mountain. It is obvious if a rain comes it will definitely come down.
So, how much of that is happening now? Because there's a lot of climate change.
No. This is an lack in somewhere in planning your towns. If you look at our ancient villages, you see they have a specific site for residential houses.
Right.
That is quite safe from this angle, natural calamity, whatever it is. And even considering the time span also, winter it is much warmer, the place will remain warmer, and summer it will be more pleasant. So this is how they have selected sites for residential purposes. Now, with the expansion of population and we are looking for luxurious life, you see, even you don't want to walk even for 5 minutes. You want your house to be very next to the highway.
No, this unplanned houses,
Especially near the mountains and
exactly. Yes.
So, have you seen any disasters, like in terms of there's heavy rainfall, there's flooding, and houses are.
Yes. Sabu village itself is witness to so many flash floods.
There used to be a beautiful stream over here and some gardens.
Yes.
But just because of the flash flood, this has happened,
And this is the village which is more affected than
this
other villages across the valley, no?
Yes.
You yourself are in the cultural and heritage department. What is being done to maintain it? Do you have enough funding? Do you?
No, just look at it. Tangible and intangible, there's two aspects. You see, tangible heritage, of course, you can do it when you get some funding, all this and that. But intangible part is very difficult to maintain through funding and all this and that. But for that, first of all, you need to let people aware of their own knowledge and ancient traditional knowledges, wisdoms, and all this and that. So for that, we are trying our level best. But what we are lacking is we don't have a clear vision for the future, how we should go about. We don't have a policy in place for cultural policy or whatever policy you say. That is missing. The change in lifestyle in this the land of passes, though rapid in the last decade, can be traced back to the 1947 incursions of newly formed Pakistan into Ladakh, followed by the Chinese war with India and the closure of all roads leading from Ladakh to Tibet and the countries of Central Asia. Trade via the Silk Route got hit the most, with long lasting consequences.
The incidence of mental health is increased a lot. And initially we used to see very few patients a day. But because of the lack of awareness and the social stigma was there. But then over a period of time, like my father used to tell me that he used to see hardly 2 or 3 schizophrenic patients, roaming. But now we are finding a lot of patients. Similarly, if you see the incidence of depression, incidence of anxiety, or even suicide, I myself did a study on the suicide, incidence of suicide for 3 years, but then it's again 7-8 years back. Definitely the incidence of suicide was very high and compared to the national level. Definitely because of the socio-economic reasons, people hardly knew about what is stress, what is depression long time ago. But these days you find every third, fourth person talking about this stress, because people have invested a lot of money in hotels and restaurants. But then again, when the influx of tourists is decreased like this year and last year too, the incidents, the number of tourists has been decreased. So obviously they have invested money, they have taken a lot of loans and they are not able to repay. So this leads to again the stress, anxiety and of course mental illness. The other things like, for example, I tell you of incident again, the drugs, the unemployed. You must have. There was a data released from Government of India. Leh Ladakh has highest unemployment rate in entire India.
Really?
Yes.
And
So-
despite all the tourism and despite all
Yes.
the...
Yeah, despite. But if you again look for, if you go to the market, you will find most of non-locals.
Yes, I
yeah.
have seen that.
You have seen every second shop will be will be a non-local running it.
But why is that? Why doesn't the local Ladakhi get work?
Again, yeah, this is a question. Definitely, I think a day will come when Ladakhi will also, because since they have no job, they'll go for those jobs. I think people should go. Like, you won't find an Ladakhi electrician, you won't find a Ladakhi plumber, and there are many such jobs. So
They don't want to do it. It's below their dignity.
primarily they don't want to do it. But then a day will come they will do. I think they should do. So definitely with the passage of time, I believe many things like drugs. Now we hear that a lot of unemployed youth, they are taking drugs.
Where do these drugs come from? Is it Afghanistan or...
No, not from Afghanistan. It's mostly if you talk of marijuana,
Marijuana?
cannabis, that's mostly from either from Manali or from Kashmir. It's
grown
yeah.
there now?
Yeah, it's grown. It is grown there.
Oh, and it's legal there to grow it?
No, it's not legal. It's totally illegal. But then people get it.
How big is that business of drugs in...
Well, it's difficult to say. But then what we hear is that a lot of youths, they are indulged in drugs. Yeah, this is what we hear. We don't have an exact figure, but then there is definitely.
So what's happening? Are they committing suicide or are they deaths because of drugs?
No, it's not yet. It's not yet. But because of I think that gang war, fight. It is there. Not exactly gang war. There is some. Because of the drugs, what should I say? There were some incidents of
Violence.
It was there, but not too much. But then it was.
So are there any gangs and stuff like that here as well?
No, not exactly. But we heard of Ginji gang. We heard of that.
Gitchi gang.
Like Ginji gang.
Ginji gang.
Yeah.
Who are they?
There are some
Locals.
local youths.
Besides lending beauty to the landscape, the spectacular passes of Ladakh also have tremendous historical and cultural value, as they were used by travelers and traders in ancient times to reach the far lands of the east and west. This is Abdul Rashid, 93 years old. He served the Indian Army and fought the Chinese and the Pakistanis. Here he talks of Ladakh in the good old days.
उस वक़्त ले जो है वो एक मार्केट था। गर्मियों में यरकन से आते थे, तिब्बत से आते थे, बल्तिस्तान से आते थे, और ये ले जो है वो एक सेंटर था ट्रेड का। पहले ट्रेड चलता था, तो बाद में जब की लड़ाई से पहले
Earlier Leh was a huge market. Traders came from Yarkand, Tibet, Baltistan, and exchanged goods. In 1942, some Yarkandis even came over and settled here and in Kashmir. Trade suffered after the Chinese occupation of Tibet in 1949 and with Yerand after the 1962 India-China War when Chinese claimed Yarkand. Trade suffered after 1947. Earlier traders from Baltistan, Tibet, Kashmir, Yarkand congregated in Ladakh and exchanged goods. The Yarkandis got carpets, gold, jewels, the Kashmiris got spices, the Tibetans got tea, pashmina. What was life like in those days? Life was very tough then. We were surrounded by 5 and even 6 feet of snow, but now there is no snow at all. The climate change took place because horses and donkeys as modes of transport got replaced by motor vehicles, and a lot of industry got set up like steel, mining. Tourism led to lots of hotel building. Far too many houses are being constructed, leading to the near disappearance of agriculture.
यारकंदी लाते थे इधर कालीन, सोना, चांदी और मोती वगैरह। कश्मीरी लाते थे मसाला वगैरह, ये तिब्बतन वाले लाते थे चाय वगैरह, ये नमक और पश्मीना।
उन जमाने के बारे में जो रहन सहन था वो कैसा था? बहुत मुश्किल था, होता होगा ना?
बहुत मुश्किल, अभी तो है नहीं। उस वक़्त यहाँ पर जब चलता था ना गर्दियों में तो बर्फ़ पर बैठ जाता था रेस करके। यहाँ पर 5-5, 6-6 फुट बर्फ़ पड़ता था सर्दियों में।
अब कितना पड़ता है?
अब तो कुछ है ही नहीं,
बिल्कुल नहीं। क्यों नहीं है?
बर्फ़ थोड़ा पड़ता है तो वो भी पिघल जाता है, रहता नहीं। इसलिए तब्दील हुआ। एक तो यहाँ पर मोटर ये गाड़ी वगैरह बहुत आ गया, ठीक है ना। दूसरा यहाँ काफ़ी कारखाना भी लगा है, इसकी वजह से।
कौन सा कारखाना है ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा? किस चीज़ के लिए?
यहाँ है ना इधर चोखलाम सा में क्या
स्टील इंडस्ट्री, प्लांट इंडस्ट्री।
अच्छा है।
वेल्डिंग जो मशीन यूज करते हैं।
मकान
तो बहुत बन गया,
पर कहीं पे भी बना रहे हैं।
बहुत बन गया, बहुत हद से ज़्यादा बन गया। अभी ले सिटी में तो खेती रहा ही नहीं।
There are so many stories to narrate, such a rich tapestry of history and culture. And perhaps it was this desire to preserve Ladakh's ancient culture and history that became an inspiration for Abdul Rashid's granddaughter, Adiba Jahan, to start her project, Dastan-e-Karwan, that aims at reviving stories around the ancient, rich trading history of Ladakh and its people.
So Dastan-e-Karwan, right, the event that we had from 30 August to 1st September, this event was a celebration of the rich interweaving of different cultures along the trading route with our own heritage in Ladakh. For centuries, Ladakh stood at such a vital spot on the Silk Route and trade route, right? And it was not only exchange of items, but exchange of culture, knowledge and ideas.
Adiba, through her event Dastan-e-Karwan that took birth this year, wants to showcase Ladakh's history and cultural integration through the story of her ancestors that are part of the now dwindling Argun community. The Arguns are a product of the intermingling and resultant marriage of trading tribes from Yarkand, now in West China, Kashmir, Ladakh, Tibet, Kashgar, also in West China now, and other places that traded along the Silk Route. Adiba, through her event Dastan-e-Karwan that took birth this year, wants to showcase Ladakh's history and cultural integration through the story of her ancestors that are part of the now dwindling Argun community. The Arguns are a product of the intermingling and resultant marriage of trading tribes from Yarkand, now in West China, Kashmir, Ladakh, Tibet, Kashgar, also in West China now, and other places that traded along the Silk Route. As Adiba puts it, trading communities like the Arguns that emerged out of the network of commerce and settled in Ladakh embody peaceful cultural assimilation and link her to the foundation of her heritage.
Okay, these traders who used to trade for traveling for 4-5 months a year. So if you ask me today with all the technology, if I can travel for 4-5 months, transporting a thing to be, I don't think I can. So that really marveled me as to how did they do that. And then I think when I started asking my grandmother, and then when she started telling me the story, I thought it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful that how I'm here, how beautifully we have assimilated into the society, and we are all one today, right? And that made me believe that, I do want to tell this story to everyone. I believe stories has power, and more than stories, I think it's the narration that has power. So I just wanted to make sure that I narrate it in such a way that the one who's hearing would take something with themselves. So I thought what would be the best way to tell this story, right? So since we have an ancestral house which is 110-year-old, I thought that should be the perfect spot for me. So I started restoring that house, and it's called Munawar House. Munawar House, it was made by my great-grandmother called Mariam Bhi. She was a widow at a very young age, and her grandfather, who was a trader in Yarkand, used to send her money. So she saved every penny to build that house. And I think at a time like that, when women didn't have that much agency, I think that was surprising itself, right? So I thought I started dotting all those points, and I realized over the time that this house is a testimony of resilience, love and determination of a mother and son. Together they built this house, so beautiful. It took me 41 days to restore it. The foundation was strong enough. I did just basic mud plastering, clay plastering, and everything was sourced from there. Nothing we got from outside. Then we started this event called Dastan-e-Karwa. Dastan means bigger than a story, right? Story. And Karwa is caravan. So it's a story about caravans.
Through narratives of stories such as these, Adiba hopes to keep alive the foundations of a community's heritage, helping build a harmonious future in an age marked by intolerance and violence.
And yes, just me wanting to make this experience immersive, we added a trade trail experience where put these important trade spots like Yarkand, Khotan, Tashkent, Kargil, and we even had horses. So just to make it an immersive experience. And we had a heritage lunch where we served only hor pulao, like Central Asian food, right, which was a result of the trade. It's a very rich cuisine. My intent is that if anyone who's traveling to Leh, right, they should understand and learn and know about the stories which has made Ladakh possible. And I'm sure every family has one such story. I started with mine because this is what I knew and this is what I thought was interesting. And I thought if I tell the story, the visitors and the travelers would feel more connected to the place. And I think that's one step closer to quality tourism, right? When you're connected to something, you value it more. You know that you have conscious acts that this should be done, this shouldn't be done. So I think if you, and I'm hoping 5 to 10 years later, if Ladakh is a place which talks to the audience through stories, I'm sure the audience and travelers that we have would be much more interested to visit a place like that. As of now, I think the first thing that I want to do next year is want to tell another story of Ladakh. And the intent here is to expand the perspective of what Ladakh is. Right? And how do we do that? By telling each stories. Right? So next year I would like to tell another story for another place. This time I chose something which I was aware of, which I was comfortable with, and I knew the story. Next year I would like to tell another story. So I'm thinking as of now, every year I would like to take such projects by telling different stories which I feel the audience needs to know more, the traveler needs to know more.
Kept inside the newly renovated house are artifacts from days of yore, when no degree of harsh weather deterred traders from undertaking risky journeys on donkeys and horses to sell their wares. Adiba says more stories about Ladakh need to be showcased as they help visitors feel a connect to the place, leading Ladakh one step closer to quality tourism. But what triggered it off, this desire to undertake her project, Dastan-e-Karwa, and what does it mean?
The trading part is basically one of the stories that has a part in it. I'm sure there's so many stories, even I don't know many of them. So this is my journey first, and along with me, I'm just making it something that I can produce it to everyone else. I think over the years, I'm sure I would have a bunch of stories to tell. But I feel Ladakh is definitely blessed with beautiful mountains and lakes. But behind these mountains and lakes, there are these stories that has made Ladakh possible. These are the stories of the people who has made these mountains and lakes possible. So I think I would like to uncover these stories one by one. Right? In different ways, innovative ways, we'll curate it in such a way that I think it's immersive and people find more interest. So I'm trying to figure out these ways. I want to team up with people who have these ideas.
But time and changed circumstances take a toll, just like they have in Ladakh. Old trading partners like Gilgit, Tibet, Yarkand remain out of bounds under the control of Pakistan or China. And so the trading now is more with other Indian states like Kashmir. Adita's aunt and father.
अच्छा अच्छा चांगतांग से कहते हैं इनके अब ये दादे परदादे जो है ना वो चांगतांग जाते थे वहाँ से पश्मीना लाते थे शातूज लाते थे भेड़ बकरियाँ लाते थे तो ये जो ले जो है वो एक लद्दाख जो है सेंटर था बिजनेस का तो वहाँ से तिब्बत से भी आते थे यरकन से भी आते थे कश्मीर से भी आते थे तो यहाँ से ट्रेड चलते थे एक दूसरे को
तो इससे लद्दाख की इकोनॉमी को तो धक्का पहुंचा होगा कि वो बंद हो गया वो रूट
जी हाँ जो काफ़ी कहता है पुराने लोग कहते हैं काफ़ी परेशानी हो गया जब ये ट्रेड बंद हो गया
तो फिर उसकी जगह पे क्या करते हैं
उसकी जगह पर फिर उन्होंने लोकल यहाँ पे जो नियरेस्ट जो थे यहाँ पे स्टेट जो है ना कश्मीर से तो वहाँ से आना शुरू हो गया
कश्मीर से लोग यहाँ शुरू हो गया
मतलब ट्रेड मतलब बिजनेस जो है
अच्छा
यहाँ सारे तो बंद हो चुके थे ना सब
तो क्या लेके जाते थे यहाँ से पश्मीना
यहाँ से पश्मीना जी वहाँ से चावल आते थे नमक आते थे ये सारा जो
और यहाँ से पश्मीना ले जाते थे
और नमक सबसे ज्यादा नमक चांगतांग से आते थे ले में नमक यहाँ से कश्मीर जाते थे
नमक ज्यादा कहाँ पे है
यहाँ पे चांगतांग में
अच्छा आपके यहाँ ज्यादा
हाँ ले में ज्यादा है
An evening walking down the streets of Ladakh, besides the glamour of the jewelry and specially handcrafted clothes, you may get lucky to witness some other stories that make up the story of Ladakh. Stories that carry the continuity of the past into the present. For instance, Ladakh's valuable contribution over the ages to the defense of India, not just due to its strategic location, but the effort, vigilance, and fight of its people to ward off any intruders from bothering enemy nations. Gathered here, a crowd enjoying an evening of music from the most unlikely of musical bands, the Ladakh Scouts, an infantry regiment of the Indian Army, nicknamed as the Snow Warriors or Snow Leopards. The regiment specializes in mountain warfare, and its primary role is to guard India's borders in the high altitudes of the Union Territory of Ladakh. Many Ladakhis joined the Indian Army and participated in the 1962 Indo-China War as also alongside the Indo-Pakistan border.
उस वक़्त तो इतना हमारे पास हथियार भी नहीं थे ना हमारे पास 3 राइफल थे और 3 मोटर थे बड़े हथियार नहीं थे तो आमने सामने भिड़ते थे
Those days, we had simple weapons not as sophisticated as today. The combat with the enemy was face to face. So a soldier needed courage, guts, and strength. I fought both the Indo-China and Indo-Pakistan War. How did you manage to fight during the winters? During the winters for 3 or 4 months, we had to have ice water. Even our cooking was done using ice water. Times were different then. Ladakhis have worked hard for India's security. In 1947, when the Pakistanis invaded India, We fought them off after just 2 days of training. Our ancestors have contributed immensely.
बर्फ पे खाना बनाते थे, कैसे हो सकता है वो?
खाना अभी का हालत नहीं है ना, उस वक्त और कुछ हालत था। लद्दाखियों का हिंदुस्तान के लिए काफ़ी काम किया है। 47 में पाकिस्तान जो है वो सामने पत्थर साहब है ना अभी मंदिर, वहाँ पहुँचा। वहाँ से हमारे बुजुर्गों ने बाबू पहन के साथ उठा के 2 दिन रेफा ट्रेनिंग दिया, तीसरे दिन निकाल के उसको करगिल से भी बाहर कर दिया पाकिस्तान को। हमारे बुजुर्गों का बहुत कंट्रीब्यूशन है उसमें आर्मी में। लद्दाखियों ने अपने लद्दाख को तो बचाया है।
और साथ ही साथ
मैं इंडियन आर्मी में था, ट्रेनिंग के साथ 1962 में वो गलवान घाटी बोलता है, गलवान नाला से आगे मधु पोस्ट बहुत तकरीबन उधर से 150 किलोमीटर।
Ghulam Rasool, another Ladakhi who served the Indian Army during the 1962 Indochina War, narrates his near-death escapade while stationed close to the Ladakh-China border. 70 Indian soldiers guarding the post got confronted by 70 Chinese military trucks. The enemy was too close for call. They were forced to flee on foot, but as their escape routes were blocked, the only pathway to safety was a treacherous one, down a narrow stream of water running parallel to the treacherous mountain range. 14 days of walking led them to a safer destination where a helicopter from the Indian side spotted them. He says Ladakhis have gone through a lot of hardship protecting Indian territory. They have moved shoulder to shoulder with the Indian Army and continue to do so even now.
Abdul Rashid and Ghulam Rasool from the Arkan community are living through the fast-changing socio-political reality of Ladakh. After the closure of Tibet and Baltistan, many Arghons entered the hospitality business, setting up hotels and travel agencies and taking up jobs with the government. Today, they are an affluent, successful community. Most of the top hotels in Ladakh are owned and run by them. However, the economic profile of Ladakh is changing. Over the last 3 decades, the landscape inundating Indian Army presence in Ladakh has become a permanent feature. Ironically, it has also emerged as a substitute revenue generator, creating new job and business opportunities. Many of the large infrastructure projects are being undertaken by the Army, whose presence has grown exponentially due to the sensitive location of Ladakh. This has also created alternate opportunities like a massive military supply chain business. The Argons too have benefited. The large network of high altitude roads being built will soon be completed, and the pony potters who supply essentials to the army and contractors in these remote areas will be replaced by trucks. Already, many Ladakhis, including the Argons, have found new employment opportunities driving army buses and trucks carrying commodities like iron, cement from Kashmir, Punjab, and even Delhi. Mr. Elijah Gergan.
यहाँ क्या है कि एक तो हमारा impending threat of China है.
जी जी वो तो है.
There is impending threat of China in Ladakh. China means you need military. That's right. Military needs establishment of supply lines. Supply line is another word for investment. Soldier aligns interest with the person who is selling things to the soldier, right? The threat of China will never go, so the supply chain businessman looks at it from the long-term perspective and agrees that manufacturing in Ladakh will save costs, so why not shift base? Plus, there is abundance of land and you get it free. So investment is easy in Ladakh. Because your biggest overhead cost, land is free.
Person who is selling things to the soldier,
Right.
supplying things to the soldier.
हाँ.
अब सप्लाई और सोल्जर दोनों की यूनियन हो गई. अब उसमें क्या किया, जो सप्लाई वाले ने कहा देखो यार ये तो मार्केट कभी खत्म होनी नहीं है, चाइना तो कभी हटेगा नहीं, हमको अगले 200 साल के लिए तो हमारा यहाँ
With
पाउच हम
its newly acquired title of Union
हैं जी।
Territory,
अगर
Ladakh
हमने
is
जब
witnessing
जमाना ही
another
है
major
तो थोड़ा
change in
और
its
जमा लो,
economic
यहाँ पूरा ही
profile.
पूरा
Major
खाना
projects
जाओ।
are being
पहले
initiated by
हम
the central government and being
हर
awarded to large
परसेंटेज को
business
सप्लाई
houses
करते
from
थे।
other parts of
अब
India.
जब हमने
Mr. Elijah
शिफ्टिंग करना
Jurgen,
है
President
तो
CBSE Schools
50 लाख
Leh, who
किलोमीटर
also
बना
holds
दो,
many other
यहीं से
titles
मूव कर दो,
including
यहाँ जमीन तो वहीं
President
मिल
of the
रही है,
Ladakh
खाली है, यहाँ
Mountaineering
कोई
and Adventure
बैठने
Club
वाला नहीं है।
explains,
जी।
वहाँ
larger contracts are
में
beyond
एग्री
the
पे लेना
Arghon
पड़ेगा, तो
businessman's
हर
financial
एक
capacity,
स्क्वायर फुट का
attracting
पैसा
only
देना
big
पड़ेगा
business
आपको,
houses from
इन्वेस्टमेंट बहुत
outside
मुश्किल
Ladakh.
है। आपको खाली जमीन मिलेगी कहाँ सोलर पैनल लगाने के लिए, ये
Meanwhile,
करने के
once
लिए,
the
वो करें,
mainstay
यहाँ तो
of the
अगर ले
Argon
लो भाई।
community, the Pashmina trade has changed due to setup of cooperatives in villages. The role of the traders has been eliminated. Environmental changes too have impacted the trade. There is much lesser snow and the glaciers are melting rapidly, and the drying up of grazing land is also impacting the Pashmina goat pastures. A major lifestyle transition is also being attributed to the near 50% cut in Pashmina wool growth and growing areas. Lack of grazing land, coupled with the education and upward mobility of the nomadic goat herders, is taking a toll. The nomads are beginning to settle in cities like Leh. They own huts that they rent out, riding on the ever growing tourist wave. This is hotelier Ghulam Mustafa, an Argon, and runs the Grand Dragon Hotel Ladakh. He laments the way the Pashmina industry is heading in Ladakh.
अभी चौथम वाले क्या हो गया कि most of they are staying in they shifted in Ladakh, Leh. I mean, few of the people are just looking after their goods and others.
Oh my God, अच्छा
ऐसा है.
तो कम हो गया ट्रेड अब
Traders बहुत कम हो गए.
प्लस वुल भी तो कम हुआ है ना वुल
वुल भी तो काफी कम हो गया उन दिनों जैसा नहीं है. अब तो यहाँ पे कश्मीर में नेपाल से आता है, नेपाल में चाइना से आता है, फिर मंगोलिया से आता है, मंगोलिया से फिर पता नहीं कहाँ कहाँ से लाके फिर अपना कश्मीरी जो है वो पश्मीना हर जगह से मंगाता है. उन दिनों
Dr. Abdul Khayyam, President Anjuman Moin ul Islam, one of the oldest social religious organizations in Ladakh, also spells gloom for the Pashmina industry.
You know, if things remain like this in a decade's time, not less than decades, Pashmina will be gone.
Really? And why did you withdraw then?
Because if the solar comes there, from many villages in nomadic areas like Karnak and all, they are settling in Leh town. Urbanization is going on.
And
then the solar project will come. Then the business itself is, it's not in the people's hand. So automatically, it will finish.
What kind
Yeah, Pashmina is now going to lose because if that solar project at Gangchuthang, you might be knowing,
Yes,
if
yes,
it comes
yes.
at that place, then most of the parcel land will be destroyed. So who will rear Pashmina? It will extinct.
As Adiba puts it, the stories are far too many, and she's hopeful that even a decade from now, Ladakh will continue to speak its history and ongoing transitions through spellbinding stories.